Hey guys, this is Cap the Tutor. In this video, I'll be going over the new SAT practice number 1, section 3 math test no calculator section. And you can find the test in the description link below. Now let's get started. Question 1. If this expression x minus 1 over 3 is equal to k, and k is equal to 3, what is the value of x? Go ahead, pause the video and try this question yourself. And the answer is D. How to solve this question? So first, we know that this expression is equal to k and k is equal to 3. So we can say x minus 1 over 3, which is equal to k, is equal to 3. And next, we multiply 3 on both sides. So this cancel. And we have x minus 1 equal to 9 plus 1 on both sides. So we have x is equal to 10. Question 2. For I, which is equal to square root of negative 1, what is the sum of these two expressions? Go ahead, pause the video and try the question yourself. The answer is A. To solve this question, we have to add the coefficient of the I and the other two numbers. So we have 7 minus 8, which is negative 1, plus 3 plus 9 is 12i. Question number 3. On Saturday afternoon, a man sent M test messages each hour for 5 hours, and Tyrone sent P test messages each hour for 4 hours. Which of the following represents the total number of messages sent by a man and Tyrone on Saturday afternoon? Go ahead, pause the video and try the question yourself. The answer is C. To solve this question, we can first look at each individual person. So for a man, we know that he sent M messages per hour for 5 hours. So we know that he sent 5 times M messages Saturday afternoon. And as for Tyrone, he sent P messages per hour for 4 hours. So he sent 4 times P messages. And to know their sum is basically the sum of 5n plus 4p. Question 4. Kathy is a repair technician for a phone company. Each week, she receives a batch of phones that need repairs. The number of phones that she has left to fix at the end of each day can be estimated with the equation P is equal to 108 minus 23 times D, where P is the number of phones left and D is the number of days she has worked that week. What is the meaning of the value 108 in this equation? Go ahead, pause the video and try this question. The answer is B. To solve this equation, we really have to understand what this equation is really means. If you notice, this equation looks very similar to our fundamental linear equation. Y is equal to mx plus b. In this case, the y is p, and the x here is d. So we have negative 23d plus 108. Where negative 23 is a slope. And we know slope is change of y over change of x. In this case, it will be change of p over change of d. Or in other words, is negative 23 over 1. So what this slope means is that for every 1 day, she has negative 23 or 23 fewer phones to fix. And for the y-intercept b, we have 108. And what this means here is that when day d is equal to 0, she has 108 phones left to fix, which is exactly represented by the answer B. Question number 5. Which of the following is equivalent to the expression above? Go ahead, pause the video and try this question yourself. The answer is C. This question is testing your knowledge of combining like algebraic terms. So in order to combine algebraic term, the term has to have the same variable and the same exponent. For example, if we have 2x squared y plus 2x squared y, we can simply combine these two terms because the variable is the same and the exponent is the same, and we simply add the coefficient. So 2 plus 2 is 4. So we have 4x squared y. However, if we have 2x squared y plus 2xy, we cannot combine these because the exponent is different. So in this problem, it's easier, instead of subtracting the second term from the first term, it's easier to just write this as plus negative 1 times the second term. Remember, when we have a number multiplied by a parenthesis, we have to distribute it. So in this question, we have x squared y minus 3y squared plus 5xy squared plus negative 1 times negative 1. So we have positive x squared y and plus negative 1 times 3xy squared. So we have negative plus negative 3xy squared. Remember, we are combining terms with the same variable and same exponent. And lastly, negative 1 times negative 3y squared, we have plus positive 3y squared. So our answer is 2x squared y, and these cancel out, plus 5 minus 3xy squared, which is 2xy squared. Question number 6. A pediatrician uses the model above to estimate the height age of a boy in inches. In terms of the boy's age A in years between the ages of 2 and 5. Based on the model, what is the estimated increase in inches of a boy's height each year? Once again, pause this video and try the question yourself. The answer is A3. By looking at this equation, it is just another form of our famous linear equation y is equal to mx plus b. In this case, h is y and a is x. So, and what this question is really asking is the increase of a boy's height each year. So increase per year is really asking you what is the slope. So remember, slope m is the change of y over change of x, in this case, is a change of age, the height of the boy, over change of a, the age of the boy. And in this case, is 3 over 1. So what does this mean is that for each year increase for a boy's height, the height increased by 3 inches, which A is the answer. Question number 7. The formula above gives the monthly payment M needed to pay off a loan of P dollars at R percentage annual interest over N months. Which of the following gives P in terms of M, R, and N? Go ahead, pause this video and try it yourself. Alright, the answer is B. To really solve this question, at first it might look really difficult, but if you look at it closely, it's really involving two different terms. So one, we have this R over 1200, and the second really big term that we have is this 1 minus 1200. And to really solve P in terms of the other variable, what we can do is first multiply both sides by this term 1 plus R over 1200 to the n power minus 1. This is just really a one big term. And as you can see, this bottom and the top cancel out. So 1 plus R over 1200 to the n minus 1. And then next we divided both sides by this two upper term. So this will cancel out also. Alright, and that will give us the answer. Question 8. If A over B is equal to 2, what is the value of 4B over A? Go ahead, pause this video and try the question yourself. And the answer is C. To solve this problem, there are two ways, at least two ways of doing this. One way is we know that we have two variables and two equations, so we can solve for the variables and know what this expression becomes. But there's a shortcut to this. So let's say we know that A over B is equal to 2. So in other words, if we multiply B on both sides, then we know A is equal to 2B. And to find out what 4B over A is, we can just substitute A here. So we have 4B over 2B, and this cancel out. So we know this expression is equal to 2. A second way of doing this is we know that we want to find out what 4 times B over A is. And we know that A over B is equal to 2 over 1. So in other words, B over A, if we cross multiply, is equal to 1 over 2. And we can just have this move in here. So we have 4 times 1 over 2, which is equal to 2. So in SAT, oftentimes there are multiple ways of solving problem, and you really want to find the easiest and the fastest way that is most comfortable to you. Question 9. What is the solution xy to the system of equations above? Go ahead, pause the video and try it yourself. The answer is B. So this question is asking you to solve a system of equation. If you remember, when we have system of equation, the first step is we solve one of the variable. Let's say we solve what the x is. And then once we have x, we plug it back into one of the equation and solve for the other equation, in this case, y. But before we even attempt to do this, let's look at the answer. If you notice, for all the answer, each value of x is unique. Whereas the answer for y, we have two of them with the same y. So it will be better if we just solve for x, because we know what x is, then we know what the answer is. Given the SAT is a time test, the faster we solve the problem, the better it is. So let's solve for x. So the first equation, we have 3x plus 4y is equal to negative 23. And the second equation, instead of writing 2y minus x, I'd like to align my variable. So I would like to move this x to the front. So instead of minus x, I can say plus negative 1x plus 2y is equal to negative 19. So how do we solve for x? First, we have to get rid of the y. And to do so, we have to make sure the coefficient of the y is the same. So how do I make 2y into 4y? One thing we can do is to multiply the second equation by 2. So the second equation, because remember, when we do that, we have to multiply each of the term of the equation by 2. So the equation become 2 times negative 1 is negative 2x plus 2 times 2 is 4y, and 2 times negative 19 is negative 38. So now we have two equations, and to get rid of the y, we can just subtract the second equation from the first equation. So let's do that. So let's have this subtract. So 3x minus negative 2x will give us positive 5x, and 4y minus 4y will cancel out, right? And negative 23 minus negative 38, that is just 15. So we know that x is equal to 3 when we divide both sides by 5. And that is one of the answer, and we know B. And if we would like to check, we can always plug 3 into x into one of the equation and solve for y. So let's try that just to make sure when we have time. So let's try the second equation. So we have 2y is equal to negative x equal to negative 19. And we know that x is 3, so let's plug 3 into x. And plus 3 on both sides. So 2y is equal to negative 16. And we can divide both sides by 2. So we know that y is negative 8. And yes, that is our solution also. Question number 10. For the function g defined above, a is a constant and g of 4 is equal to 8. What is the value of g of negative 4? Go ahead, pause the video and try it yourself. The answer is A, 8. So to solve this equation, there are multiple ways. One way you can do is, we know that g of 4. So what that means is that when x, in this case, is 4, we give us 8. So we know that g of 4 is equal to a times 4 squared plus 24.
And next we can solve for a, and then once we know what a is, we can plug -4 into x and solve for this g of x. But however, if you notice this, g of -4 is same as saying a to the -4 square plus 24. And we know that 4 square and -4 square is the same because this will give us 16, which is same as this one. So we know that this whole expression a to the -4 square plus 24 is actually same as a to the 4 square plus 24, and which we know that from the question that this whole expression is equal to a. So hence there's our answer. And once again, of course, you can definitely solve for a and plug that in and see if we can get the same. So let's try that. So we have 8 is equal to 16a plus 24. So the next we can do is minus 24 on both sides. So we have -16 is equal to 16/8. And divide 16 on both sides. We have -1 is equal to 8. So we know a is -1, so let's try g of -4, which we have -1 times -4 squared plus 24. So we have -16 plus 24, and then it will give us 8. Question 11. In the equations above, B and C represent the price per pound in dollars of beef and chicken respectively, X weeks after July 1st during last summer. What was the price per pound of beef when it was equal to the price per pound of chicken? Go ahead, pause this video and try the question yourself. The answer is D. So to solve this question is what we're really asking you is at one point these two values is the same. And to help you visualize this more easily, this is actually another form of this classic linear equation. Y is equal to b, in this case a y-intercept, plus a slope m times x. And to look at this graphically, we know that x and y plane. So this is the y. In this case, that's the price of either beef or chicken. And here is the x-intercept. So we know that for the graph of the b, let's draw it in red. We know that it starts out at a higher y-intercept, but the slope is a little bit smaller. So that's our graph for B. And for the chicken, we know that it starts at a lower y-intercept, 1.75, but with a higher slope. So we know that at this point here, at X week, their price is the same. So we want to know what this price is when both the price of the chicken and the price of the beef is the same. And to solve this, we have to set B is equal to C, and we know B is 2.35 plus 0.25x equal to 1.75 plus 0.4x. So first we can subtract 1.75 on both sides, and then next step is to subtract 0.25x on both sides. So this cancel out, this cancel out. So at the end, we have 0.60, which is equal to 0.15x. And we can divide both sides by 0.15. Then we have 4 is equal to x. So what this means is that when x is equal to 4, which is 4th week after July 1st, the price of chicken and beef will be the same. And let's look at the question. The question was looking for the price per pound of beef. So we want to know what B is on the 4th week. So B on the 4th week is 2.35 plus 0.25 times 4. So we have 2.35 plus 4 quarters is 1. So we have 3.35, which is our answer. Question number 12. A line in the xy plane passes through the origin and has a slope of 1 over 7. Which of the following points lie on the plane? Go ahead, pause the video and try the question yourself. The answer is D. One way to visualize this problem is by actually looking at the graph. And we know that origin means that it's 0 when x is 0 and y is 0. And we know that, once again, from our classic linear equation, y is equal to mx plus b, where m is the slope and the b is the y-intercept. And we know in this case, this is equal to 0 because it passed through the origin. So really, our graph will be in the form of y is equal to 1 over 7 times x. So you could manually plug in x into each of these variables and solve for y and see which y is the answer. Or you can also plug y into each of the equation and solve the answer. And one thing is, we notice that 3 of the answer has y of 7. And we know that when y is 7, 7 times 7 is 49. X is actually 49. So immediately we can cross out A, B, C immediately. And we know D is the answer. And another way to look at this is looking at the graph. So we know that the line passed through the origin with the slope of 1 over 7. So what this means is that the line will go up 1 and it will pass through the x on the 7. So we have 7 and 1. And once again, slope is rise. So rise by 1, which is 2. Go to the right 7 times again. 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which will give us a point 14, 2. So either way, we know that the only possible answer is 12, 2, because everything else doesn't make sense when y is 7, x is 49. Question 13. If x is greater than 3, which of the following is equivalent to this expression? Go ahead, pause the video and try the question yourself. So the answer is B. To solve this problem, one thing we can do is first looking at what is the sum of these two terms, and then we take the inverse of that. So let's look at 1 plus x over 1 over x plus 2 plus 1 over x plus 3. So remember, when we are adding fraction, we have to make sure that the bottom denominator has to be the same. Just like when we add 1 over 2 plus 1 over 3, we have to make sure the bottom number is the same. So one thing we can do is that we multiply each other. So we can multiply 2 times 3. We could do that because 3 over 3 is 1, and anything times 1 is the same number. So here, 1 over 3, we can multiply 2 over 2. So that would give us 2 to the 6th plus 2 over 6, which will give us 5 over 6. So the same thing can apply here. So we can multiply top and bottom by x plus 3 over x plus 3. And here we can multiply top and bottom by x plus 2 over x plus 2. So we have, so this becomes x plus 3 over this x plus 2 times x plus 3. So it is once again just a FOIL. So it's x times x is x squared plus x times 3 is 3x plus 2 times x is 2x times 2 times 3 is 6. So we have x squared plus 2x plus 3x is 5x plus 6 plus x plus 2 over the same thing, because x plus 3 times x plus 2 is same as x plus 2 times x plus 3. So that would give us x squared plus 5x plus 6. So now the bottom is the same. So we can simply just add the terms together. So remember, when we are combining algebraic expression, we can only combine when the variable and exponent is the same. So x plus 3 plus x plus 2, we have 2x and 5. So 2x plus 5 over this x squared plus 5x plus 6. And remember, that is not the answer, so don't choose A. That's completely wrong. That's a trick answer. So the question, remember, is asking you what is the inverse 1 over this. Remember, when we are taking the inverse of a fraction, we simply flip the top with the bottom. So that will give us x squared plus 5x plus 6 over 2x plus 5, which will give us the answer B. Question 14. If 3x minus y is equal to 12, what is the value of 8 to the x power divided by 2 to the y power? Go ahead, try this question. The answer is A. At first, this question might seem unsolvable, but if you're looking at it, this question is really asking you about the property of exponential. So before we start it, let's review the basics. So if we have x to the y power 2 parentheses times another power, c power, let's say, then we simply multiply these two terms. So we have x to the y times c power. So if we have x to the y power plus x to the y, we can combine them as long as the exponent and the base variable is the same. So we have 2xy, and if we have x to the y power times x to the c power, this we can simply add the exponent. So x to the y plus c power, as long as the base is the same. So in this case, x is the base. And additionally, if we have x to the y power divided by x to the c power, we can simply subtract the exponent, because as long as the base is the same. So we have x to the y minus c power in this case. So by looking at this, if we're looking at the question, ax to the 2y, and we know that ax is really, how is that related to 2? If we somehow we could get this a and convert it to a base of 2, then we know we can use one of these properties to simplify this expression. And one thing is, we know that 8 is just 2 to the third power, and to the x over 2 to the y power. So that's simplified as 2 to the 3x power over 2 to the y power. And we know that when we are dividing two two of these terms like this, that simplify into 2 to the 3x minus y because we're dividing the same base. And conveniently, we know that 3x minus y is 12. So this whole thing is just 12. And our answer is 2 to the 12th power. Question 15. If ax plus 2 times bx plus 7 is equal to 15x squared plus cx plus 14 for all values of x, and a plus b is equal to 8, what are the two possible values for c? Go ahead, pause the video and try it yourself. The answer is D. So at first this might seem very difficult problem, but if you look at the question itself, we notice that we have these two multiplying together, and what we know how to do is FOIL. So let's FOIL these and see what we get. So we have ax times bx, which will give us a bx squared, and then ax times 7x, which will give us 7ax, and then we have 2 times bx, which will give us 2bx, and lastly we have 2 times 7, which will give us 14. And we know this whole thing is equal to 15x squared plus cx plus 14. And now we know two things. So first, we know this coefficient in front of the x squared has to be the same because there's only one term of x squared. So we have this new equation, AB is equal to 15. And secondly, we know that the coefficient of x has to be equal as well. So we have this 7a plus 2b is equal to c. And another clue that we have from the question is a plus b is equal to 8. So what can the two possible values of a and b be? So let's see. So a can either be 3, that means b is equal to 5, right? Because 3 times 5 is 15, and 3 plus 5 is 8. And in other words, a can also be 5, whereas b is equal to 3, right? So now we know there are two possible values of a and b. We can plug it in and see what are the possible value of c. So let's choose the first one. So, and let's plug that in. So now we have 7 times 3, which is what we set as a, plus 2 times 5, and this is equal to c. And we have 3 times 7, 21, plus 2 times 5 is 10. So we know that 31 is c. So at this point, we're actually done, because look, of all the answer here, only answer D has 31 as one more of the possible value, right? So we are done. But if you want to double check when you have extra time, you can always just check the other solution. So we have, let's try the second one, when A is equal to 5 and B is equal to 3, and plug that in as well. So we have 7 times 5 plus 2 times 3. 7 times 5 is 35, plus 2 times 3 is 6. And 35 plus 6 is 41. And yes, that is also the answer D. So we are done here. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be uploading part 2, part 3, part 4 to this series in the near future. And if you'd like to see more video like this, please consider subscribing and click the bell notification. And lastly, leave any comment feedback that you have in the comment section below. Thank you once again.